today I don't know much. I haven't read the article, but it seems like they stormed where the two suspects who did the attack on the satirical newspaper, where they had taken a hostage, and they killed those two people. And the hostage, I guess, is okay. And then they simultaneously went after, on the other side of town, where somebody else, apparently from the same jihadi group, had taken 5 hostages at a kosher grocery store. And some of those hostages were alive and some got killed. So, and I don't know what happened to the guy who had taken those hostages. They may have killed him as well. But I just look at this situation, and these people doing jihad, misunderstanding their own religion, because jihad is actually working on yourself. Yeah. But having a human life, they don't have a precious human life. They don't have all the 18 conditions of a precious human life. But just getting a human life itself is incredibly difficult, because you have to keep very good ethical conduct just to be a human being. Yeah. And so some of these people have that human life and then use their human intelligence to create havoc, to motivate actions that harm others, that, create turmoil and fear in society. And I just look at that situation and I wonder about the karma, because it's got to be ripening for many different lives. Some good karma at having a human life, and then some other kind of karma. Here would be the ripening result. The body you take is the ripening result, but the result of causally concordant actions. So you have a habit of doing something in a previous life, and then it makes it easier to do that same kind of action in this life. And that's one of the worst of the karmic results, because when that one goes unchecked, then in many future lifetimes you can just wind up creating a lot of negativity. And so it seems like that's the kind of karma that's ripening for them now, in terms of doing these kind of actions. But of course, you need all the cooperative conditions, which is the social setting and, kind of what's going on in politics and economics and colonialism and post-colonialism and, all these kinds of things. Those are the cooperative conditions in this life, that set the stage for people beginning to think that acting in this way would bring them happiness. Yeah. And it's so sad that happens to sentient beings' minds, that you can really see how ignorance clouds the mind and makes it impossible to think clearly, and very easy to think unclearly. Yeah. And this is just talking about the ignorance of cause and effect here. I mean, of course, the whole root is the ignorance grasping at true existence, but here it's specifically the ignorance regarding, the ethical dimension of our actions, and totally inverting those, thinking that negative actions such as killing are actually virtuous actions. The one wrong view about precepts and practices, thinking that, killing the enemy will bring you rebirth in heaven. Yeah. The whole idea of martyrdom which theistic religions in general are just love the idea of martyr. You know, I mean, Christianity is alive with martyrs. You know, Judaism has a few of its own, you know, but Christianity and Islam just, boy, to be a martyr is the best thing in the world. From our viewpoint, it's, you know, really quite a distorted view, isn't it? Yeah, that it's much better to want to make your life useful and to have leave a positive result. You know, but of course they're thinking that what they did is a positive result and a virtuous action. There was, some years ago, there was one Tibetan man in Delhi who set himself on fire. This was before the whole series of self-immolations in Tibet that happened over the last 2-3 years. This was before that, and he set himself on fire. And I remember His Holiness did go down and see him in the hospital before he died, and the Tibetans did build a statue of him and called him a martyr. But I remember very clearly His Holiness saying, because this was right kind of in the middle of the spring teachings that year, and he said, it's better to live for the cause of Tibet than to die for the cause of Tibet. Yeah, because when you live for the cause of something, you can do something good. Yeah, when you die, whether you kill others or whether you kill yourself, you know, what is it? Yeah, so it's really a tragedy when, you know, when we see this kind of thing. And so often when we, you know, study the afflictions, oh yes, 6 root afflictions, and the 6th one, wrong views, has 5 kinds, and we study them, and oh yeah, you know, and they always teach them with the examples of you know, ancient practitioners in India who would jump on a trident, and if the middle thing came out the top of your head, you attain liberation. And we would think, you know, how strange. Yeah. But here, this is like really applying that teaching about the 6 root afflictions, the 5 types of wrong views, to a situation that's right now in our own world, where we can see exactly how these things work. Yeah, exactly how they work. And then I also think of the karma of the French SWAT teams, you know, who are going and, you know, by one perspective, you could say that they're really saving people because they're, you know, these other people are very heavily armed, probably would have committed more killing. So on one side, you could say, oh, they're doing something really good to help society. On another side, you know, they're killing people. You know, and from a Buddhist perspective, killing is, you know, it's a naturally negative action. Of course, it's not going to be nearly as negative as somebody who does it thinking that it's going to bring happiness and so on. I mean, these guys are doing it more with a feeling of benefiting society, and hopefully with some sense of regret that it kind of came down to that. Yeah, so the karma is less heavy. But it's still a sad situation, you know, to see this. And, you know, I remember Lama Zopo, my first Dharma course, talking about how human beings sometimes act worse than animals. No? And this is like this whole situation is a really good example of it, you know. Animals would not kill over a political cause, would they? Yeah. I mean, our cats chase each other when somebody, you know, this is my sofa at this moment. But, you know, they certainly don't kill each other fighting over whose sofa it is. Yeah. So human beings have this amazing intelligence that we can either use for good, to help each other, to help society, to create merit, to purify our mind, to learn the Dharma, or the same human intelligence can be used to create havoc in our own life and others. And it's completely up to us. And as you read in the motivation this morning, Zopa Rinpoche's motivation, one person's way of thinking can influence the lives of thousands of people, millions of people, actually. Yeah, and so he really warned us in the passage that Venerable Tarpa read this morning about how important it is for us to tame our own mind and our instinct to retaliate or pounce on somebody or get the best of somebody else. He said, be careful of that, because it could create the cause to be the one individual in society who, through their own misunderstandings and through their own anger and hatred, instigates widespread anger, hatred, prejudice, and violence. Yeah. And so, to really watch our own minds as one individual, to tame our own minds, and the importance of doing that. Yeah. And, if we can tame our own mind, and maybe we can also influence other people who, we may not know it, but they may be on the edge of going this direction or that direction in their life. And we may be able to influence them to also follow, a path of dealing with the real culprits, the self-centeredness and the ignorance, rather than fighting external enemies, which are only the kind mother sentient beings. Yeah. Yeah, we tend to think, they're really crazy in the way they think. But every time we want to give somebody a taste of their own medicine or retaliate for harm we've received, we're thinking exactly like them. Yeah, there's not a big difference. And so it's important to have compassion for living beings who suffer from this kind of ignorance. Yeah. So when you heard that it was a kosher grocery store, then yes, a family-owned grocery store of people who are just trying to live and let live. And they had some kind of karma from the past that when the proper conditions to come together, boom, look what happens. On a day that, certainly they never expected that to happen to them. Never, ever. Yeah? And the people in the town where this print factory is, where they just had the SWAT team, these people are all, huddling in their houses, and they sent all the school children home, and people were terrified of what was going on. And again said, we never thought this would happen in our town, which is usually so peaceful and quiet. And so again, just an illustration of, karma is there, and we don't know when and how it's going to ripen. Either it could be good karma, and it could be negative karma. Yeah, it operates equally in both ways. Okay, so let's use this as a teaching for ourselves, and also as an opportunity to create compassion, cultivate compassion for others.